back, guys. This is Billy Holmes with Holmes Hot Rod and Cycles. This episode, we're going to go ahead and pull the engine out of the truck. As you've seen last episode, we went ahead and prepped everything, got everything ready for this moment. So this one, we're going to pull the engine out, start working on the engine bay. Y'all stay tuned, check it out. The hood has already been removed. I got help with that. You can do it by yourselves, just takes a little bit longer, but I got help with that off camera. So we're going to go ahead and pull the valve cover and get started trying to find some mounting points for the engine hoist. I think we're going to pull the valve covers on a straight 6. The head bolts go straight down. So we're going to see if we can find 4 head bolts and loosen them up a little bit, slip those clamps down underneath it, and go ahead and get this thing pulled out of here. Don't forget your little hold downs here. Those keep the valve cover from bending too much. If you tighten it, it's just a little bit thicker steel. It just keeps it from, a lot of people like to really tighten down valve covers when they start leaking rather than replacing the gasket. So they'll tighten them down and then it'll actually crimp the edge of the valve cover and cause it to never really seal after that. So that's what those little bit thicker pieces there, as you see, they come in different. Some are real long, some are shaped like little V's depending on the engine that you got. All right, that should be it. There we go. We're going to go ahead and remove some head bolts here, and then head bolts in the back to kind of space out the lifting points. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Probably pull these 2 out here. Probably easier is to get to between the valves there. All right, so we ended up getting the big boy. Should have known better using the old chromes, but they've done good. So this one just takes a little bit more ass. Now the only thing is, I don't think we're gonna have to see if we got some longer bolts. All right, so got some longer bolts, same thread. Reason for it is there's not enough room underneath this bolt right here to get the clamp for the engine hoist. It's not sticking up high enough. As you can tell, the threads aren't very long on it. So we're going to pull these out. We're going to put these in there, and that will give us some more extra room for the clamps. As you'll see in a minute, it'll make sense here in a second. Now that we got those 4 out, we're going to go ahead and hook the bracket up. This is what I was talking about right here. You can see these little L's. There wasn't enough room between the bolt and the head to slide this underneath and still catch as much threads as I want. What this does, a lot of people know, but if you don't, it levels out. You can turn this knob here, and it basically just moves the center of the lifting point either forward or backwards to be able to tilt. So this is real handy. That way you don't have to get somebody underneath with holding the tail of the transmission and getting their hand pinched and all of that funness. So we're going to strap this on, and then we'll put the engine hoist on. So we're now hooked up. We're going to bring the engine hoist over, hook it up, start pulling it out, and we'll see if we need to crank it forward or backwards to get the lean just right. All right, as you can see, the only bad thing about this is it lengthens, so sometimes you might run out of room. So it's got to watch that. You can always shorten your chain up, of course. You just got to take that off. But you can see how it's angled, and when you spin this, depending on whatever way you spin it, it levels back out. So pulling this engine out, everybody knows you're going to have to lift the front of it up. So you basically turn this until you get to the point where you want to be with lifting the engine up angle wise, and then you can change it as you go to maneuver it out. We're gonna get pumping this and see. All right, so we got the engine and transmission out of the truck. You can kind of see we ran into a little bit of a hiccup once we got the engine hoist completely maxed out. Like I said, that's the only thing that's bad about this is it adds extra length. On a truck that's a little bit higher or a factory style truck, height-wise, this can kind of put you in a bind. If it's a car, it's no big deal. If it's a lower truck, it's no big deal. You can modify this. You can run through and cut the chain or move it up with this bolt. Same with down here if you know that's going to happen beforehand. But that's a lot of work just to come to the very, very top and be an inch short. So we had to ratchet and level the engine out in order to lift the back of it up to clear the core support. So it's not a big deal. It just adds a couple more minutes of putting a ratchet and a socket on this and straightening it out. It just doesn't have enough height to go out at a more of an angle. So it is what it is. It's a great tool though. I hook this up all the time. I'd rather do that than have somebody underneath the firewall and getting their hands smashed and their face smashed and covered in transmission fluid if it comes out the tail shaft, different things like that. So that helped a lot. We were just a little bit too short, so we went ahead and ratcheted forward and it came out no problem. We're going to start working on the firewall. We're going to remove the air box. We're going to remove the master cylinder. We're going to block off the air box. For right now, he's not going to run AC or heat in this. So until then, we're just going to put a nice block off plate on there and make it look a lot better. We are going to replace the master cylinder with a bigger master cylinder and power brakes. We're going to start cleaning up the firewall, replace the inner fender wells, and then start cutting out any supports that we need or that we don't need so we can replace like the transmission mount. It has the mounts on the outside for this transmission. We're going to go with either a Turbo 350 or 700 R4. The mounts on the inside, and it's at a different length. So we're going to go ahead and remove that and get working on this, clean it up, paint what we need to paint, and really turn the engine bay into something nice. Okay, let's take a closer look at the engine bay and what we're going to be working with here. Got the factory master cylinder, which will be replaced, and the air box there we're going to go ahead and remove and put a block off plate. You can see all the oil and the grime and the dirt and the dust. This thing has never been really touched, so we're going to change that. We're going to come in here, give it a good refresh. We're not going to restore anything. We're not doing anything crazy. We're just going to get it back to looking very nice. We're going to replace the fender wells. These have rust in the bottoms of them where they mount to the cab. So we're going to go ahead and replace those. We're not going to worry about them. We'll address the engine mounts and what we need to do to convert it to a small block Chevy. Same with the transmission mount you can see there. Replace the master cylinder with power brakes, CPP unit, and do the brake lines, brake hoses. Touch everything up, give it a good wipe down, paint the stuff that needs to be painted, and just get it looking really nice and presentable when you open the hood. There's the engine and the transmission. You can see all that right there. We went ahead and cut the exhaust like we said we were going to. I'm not going to be reusing it. Those are the mounts I was explaining earlier with the bolts. You can see the gold bolts there. Just a little bit more threads engaged in the heads. But that's it. So let's get on this firewall in this engine bay.
Truck, the yellow truck.
Yeah.
Daddy, how do you do this? Daddy.
What, boy?
How do you do this?
You just got to tighten it.
Tighten it? Like this, Daddy? Turn this way or this way?
Turn it the other way.
This one?
Yeah.
Tighten it. No. How does this turn up?
One master cylinder down. You can see I put a pan underneath it just in case it loses brake fluid. This one didn't, but if the proportioning valve and stuff doesn't work, then it's going to lose brake fluid. I know we're replacing these and cleaning everything up, but it's just good practice to try to catch any brake fluid so it doesn't eat any paint off that you may have. You can tell these are two different sizes, one being for the front and one being for the back. So next is going to be the heater box. If you hear some noises in the back, it's my son. He's building stuff too, so it's a family deal. But we're going to go ahead and remove this heater box here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and remove the inner fender. I think there's maybe two bolts left on the heater box that I can't get to because that's kind of wedged in between the inner fender. So we're going to go ahead and remove those. We got to take them out anyways. Like I said, we're going to replace them, and they're pretty beat up over here. So we're going to go ahead and remove these and then see if we can get to those last couple bolts on that heater box. All right, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. When it comes to the inner fender, you can see, looks like it's hit something there. It's all bound up and crinkled. But there are some bolts that run along the edge of this that you need to remove in order to start getting these out. There's some on the inner side too, but you can kind of see what I'm working with now. Once this is removed, we'll be able to get down here. I think there's a couple of bolts down on top of this, but underneath that, it's getting kind of my hands are too fat for that. All right, we almost got the fender well out. I just kind of wanted to go over what bolts are what. So you have these top two here. They bolt to the top of the fender. You can see over there about where those yellow pliers are. They bolt there. There's probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 of these that bolt to the fender right along this lip, and then there's 3 in the 3 in the front, right underneath the battery box that bolts it to the core support. You can see here 1, 2, 3, and then there are, I think, 2 more on the back. One big one that bolts it right here on this mount, and then one in the corner. This one didn't have any of that because they were it was damaged and looked like it ripped it off. But the fender well, not too bad. These weren't too rusty, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. You can see it's halfway out. Once I pull that out, then we will get on the heater box. So go ahead and pull this out real quick. Super easy. Even easier if you take the wheel and tire off, but it can work. You just got to kind of finagle it out. But that's the fender well there. That's it. We're going to be replacing these, so we're not going to worry about cleaning those up. And then, if I'm thinking right, there should be a couple of bolts, if I can see, up here on the fender. Yep, there's the 2 that I couldn't get to. You can see they're right there on the edge, so I'm going to go ahead and zip those out, and then that heater box should come out. All right, so I pulled those 2 out, and like I said, there's 1 here, 3 underneath, I believe, 1 here, 1 here. Disconnected the hose, so this should, with a little bit of wiggling, I'm not sure if we got to take this hinge part off or not, but let's see if I can go ahead and finagle this. Now there will be some sealant on here, but pretty sure we're going to have to take this hinge off in order to get this box out, unless there's some magical way of pulling that out, but I don't think there is. I think we're going to have to remove since we're not using that. We're going to go, there is a clip that works the actuator in here. I'm going to go ahead and just cut that clip off. You can get on the inside and disconnect it, but we're not using this, and if he does change it, we're going to go to vintage air and show you what I'm talking about. Here's that cable there that we're not going to use. That's going to operate the door. You could have just got a little kind of like a pin and popped it out. I cut it. We're just going to block it off. It's not being used, so I'm not going to take the extra time to do it. You can see in there, Ugh. That's what all of this holds. But that's what it was. It was 2 bolts down here, and then this guy here kind of got in my way. We're going to go ahead and remove that, and then it just basically came down from the bottom and slid out. So that is done. Go ahead, clean all of that out, vacuum that out, clean it, and then we're going to go ahead and block. We'll buy a block off plate and put that on there for the time being. And if he changes his mind in the future about AC or heat, it'll be ready to rock and roll there. So we got the firewall pretty much cleaned out. We're just going to go by and clean some like the rubber hoses here, and then some of the cables and stuff that we're not going to need. We'll go ahead and remove those, remove any screws that are protruding out so we're not cutting our hands on it. And then the firewall, the next step would be to scrub it down, clean it, pressure wash it, get all the dirt and grime off of it. Okay, got the other fender out. Same story, different side. You can see the where that one was tore up on the passenger side. Got the light. There you go. Like I said, same concept, just different side. The only thing that's different is this one has a little cutout with a bar so it can slide around the steering column shaft. That's the only difference. The other ones, like I said, bolted back here, bolted along the fender well. You got 3 up here by the front core supports, but you do have that little bracket that slides around here and then wraps up on top. But besides that, same deal. Pretty easy. And then roll it backwards and then out, and it'll roll. It'll come off just fine with the wheels and tires. Now, if you got oversized wheels and tires like 20s, 22s, it may not happen. But on these, all you have to do is roll the fender well this way, and then it'll pull out out towards the front, the side of it. The back fender well portion of it is a lot longer, so you can't roll it forward and get it out. You have to roll it this way and then kind of angle it, and it'll pull out just fine. So we got the fender wells out. Like I said, we're not going to clean them up or do anything like that. We are going to be replacing them. So we're just going to pressure wash where they were mounted, where nobody's really seen in the last, however old this is, 50 years, and get it all cleaned up, get ready for the new ones. That'll give us a lot more room also for the engine, putting the new engine in, getting here and cleaning all the suspension components out and stuff like that. Working with no fender wells is awesome. It's a lot easier. So take the time, take those out, and you can do a lot of stuff with those fender wells out of the way. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. Just a quick recap. We got the engine and transmission out. We went ahead and started cleaning up the firewall by taking the master cylinder off and the heater box off. We're going to go ahead and clean the firewall, get everything vacuumed out. That you see there's tons of leaves, tons of debris, stuff like that. And then we pulled the inner fender wells out. Some of them were damaged. The other portion of it had a lot of rust on the front core support where it bolted. So we're going to go ahead and just replace those. We're not going to worry about cleaning that up. Next episode will be us addressing more of the engine bay. We're going to go ahead and degrease and pressure wash and start grinding off all of this junk that you see down here. It's filthy, it's dirty. It just really needs a lot of attention. So that's going to be next episode. I appreciate y'all coming out, taking a look. If you like it, subscribe. We're going to try to do weekly videos, so you'll get a little ding or a notification when we do post a new one. Like the video, that helps all of us out, and it helps your search bar. It'll pop up quicker so you don't have to go through all those other junk videos, and you can tune in to us, the most important videos on YouTube. Appreciate it, guys. I'll see y'all next week.